Hi, someone online had requested a base tour, so I wanted to give an overview of what my base looks like right now. This right here is kind of the bottom of my base where the mining shafts are. As you can see, they go off various different directions and each have their appropriate labels. I haven't really had to go down here very often lately because I mined up a bunch earlier, and I'm working on getting alternate sources. So like iron, I don't need to mine anymore. I've got tons of that coming in from redstone that I get from redstone plants that I grow. As we go up, my main mine shaft here, the first thing you see is the room to the nether, which right now, in order to combat zombie pigmen from spawning right around my gate, I actually just have it floating in space, and I have a reminder here to turn my jetpack on to hover beyond this point, so that way they get blown off of my gate via a open open blocks fan, one of those little fans you can put down, and you turn it on with some redstone, and it'll one of these things right here. It'll push mobs away, so that way it keeps them off of there. But even still, it's still kind of a problem because it'll often go in there and there'll be a stupid vampire pigman that attacks me and that pisses off the rest of them, and so on and so forth. As we continue on upwards, here is my little essence berry room. I've got a little room here with one of my first pieces of automation actually. This is the XP drain that sucks my XP and it transfers it over to this storage tank where I can take it out and use it over here to purchase various things. Like at a low level I was using it to buy obsidian dust and nickel, but as you can see I've just been stockpiling them right now and eventually fill up the chest with them. But that's what this is for, this area right here. And as you go up, this area here is the main floor of the interior of the base. It's been prettified a little bit. Put some nice blocks around the exterior, some of these blocks on the ground. As you can see, they have a very high blast resistance. So, well, at least the ones on the ground do anyway. If a creeper or something gets inside and blows up, it doesn't, destroy half the base. This base here actually has a name. I call it Lava Base. And the reason it's called Lava Base is when I first started the game, I was wandering around looking for a place to hang out, and I found this tiny cave with one little stream of lava coming out of it. I'm like, it's got light, so I can wall it in and work at night. So it ended up becoming where I started, and then I expanded it. Eventually, I took out the lava, of course. So it still will always be lava based to me. Anyways, I've got this here is an area for future expansion. I haven't really done much with it yet. Got a bunch of storage bins. This is all just, the magical crap you find everywhere when you go exploring. Some more of it. Here's some of the nether stuff, boxes of nether rack, and this is just all the random trees you get from the reward bags. And over here's some more stuff, a little bit of the blaze rods and just other crap that I picked up. I haven't really organized very well. This here's some of the trees and stuff that are in my area are birch and oak, and so I've just been keeping the saplings around just in case. Here's a box of rubber saplings I've been collecting in case I run out. Here's a bunch of skystone I collected. Whenever I pick up one of the skystone chests, that's what these black things are here, I also gather up all the skystone because you can turn it into other products later, like rare earth metals and that kind of thing. Let me see if I got anything in here. One nice benefit of the skystone chest, actually, is if there's something on top of it, you can still open it. So that's one other reason why I keep them around, is so I can put them in places where a normal chest would be blocked. This here is my Steve Carts assembler, which I've used to make a couple Steve Carts. They've been pretty handy. I like having them because they're more of a visual thing instead of just a magic box that just makes stuff, which I think is kind of lame. This is where I store some of my slime balls and stuff from early on in the game. Got some skystone in here. I've got some turrets that I found or got out of reward boxes, but I haven't really done anything with. At some point, I'll mess around with those. So this here is my Tinker's station. It's been upgraded to a tool forge, so I can make the higher end tools like the cleaver and the crossbow and whatnot. And these are all the different parts related to that. And then over here is a box where I store all my extra stuff. This is my backup crossbow here. As you can see, it's pretty nice crossbow. This one right here is my primary one. As you can see, this has got some levels on it and haste and whatnot, so it can shoot pretty fast. I can give you a quick demonstration here. So as you can see, it's almost like a machine gun, which is really handy against the infernal mobs in here. So this is my wall of food right here, and also animal products, just you know, the typical leather, feathers, and white wool. But these are my more advanced level foods, so they're not really organized in any way. I just kind of scattered the high level foods around so I can just grab 6 foods to fill up my my lunch box here. So once you get a lunch box, you can fill it with foods, and that way it automatically cycle through them, so you don't eat the same food over and over again and get decreasing returns. As you can see, the numbers are starting to get kind of low on here, so I'm going to have to do a food cooking cycle here soon and just restock everything. I like to leave one in there, so that way I have a visual indicator of what the heck to make. That way I don't need to remember what are all the high tier foods. So, you know, I've got the typical high tier foods like the sausage, the Supreme Pizza, Beef Wellington, Epic Bacon, and whatnot. But I also got a lot of the lower tier foods. The jelly sandwiches are actually really good foods to start with. You just need some wheat and one of the common fruits, and you can make yourself some jelly sandwich. Oh, and you also need a nut. So in my case, I believe I'm using walnuts to make these. These are pretty handy to carry around, and you can just make gobs and gobs of them. So behind these, this is an expansion room I made for my forestry carpenters. As you can see, I've got 3 right now, so that way I can leave them full of stuff. This one's got creosote. This one's got redstone. This one is normally my one that I change around. It had seed oil before when I was making the silk and upgrading my backpacks, and I'll put water in there as needed. That's just a leftover thing from something. I got a little bit extra room back here if I want to build something else, like the forestry squeezers or whatnot, but I haven't seen any real need for them. And these are some of the stuff stored for that, and extra seed oil and whatnot. And then back over here, I took my my LV work table, I moved it over here so I can still make some of the LV stuff, because you still need a lot of LV stuff like hatches and whatnot, and they're pretty handy, and you know, I use it here for building the Steve Cart things and that kind of stuff. And it's got an extra crafting station next to it with some stuff stored up. And over here is my first jetpack was an Electrotine jetpack, so that's what this is over here. It's a charging bench, a generator, and then a little storage box with some. Hey, there's where my saw went. And I got some extra batteries there too. I've been looking for those. Yeah. So this is where this right here was stored. It used to be that, you know, I tried to use a solar panel and get a light up to the top, but it never really worked out very well. So I just leave it with the Electrotine. I don't even use this anymore as a backup. I've got a coal backpack that I use as a backup. I think the coal backpack's a lot easier because I can charge it with water just by either, you know, bucketing water into it or just standing in a stream, and I can carry around a lot of coal with me, and it just lasts for a long time. The main backpack I'm using now is a copter pack, so I can fly around in the air with this. It's really handy. The only disadvantage is that it'll blow stuff on the ground away from you, like loose items, but that's not too big a deal. So this right here is my food-related storage. So I've got a water tank here, which if you see the pipe, it actually goes to a water tank up on the top. But it keeps this iron tank here full of water for making flour dough and that type of thing, and also for making salt. One thing I do is I use this work table here, and one handy little trick that I found is you can use a work table here. Let me see if I can get a bunch of water. Normally you have to make these one at a time, putting up there, but with a work table you can just go like this, click the recipe, right click that, and then they all get converted at once, which is really, really handy for when you need a large volume of salt or whatever. So that's a really nice little trick that I found. And I've got an extra crafting station and some more storage. Here's like all my seeds and whatnot. This right here is like all the building materials that I've just gathered over time. You know, the white marble, the red marble that makes the nice floors here and all that kind of stuff. These chests right here contain my oddball metals. So, you know, the the ones I've usually have found somewhere, maybe just only have a few of. I kind of keep them in here. This is stuff that I've gathered from the Nether that I haven't really made a separate storage area yet. So I've got pyrite and whatnot, diatomite and stuff. It doesn't stack with the stuff I find locally, so I have to keep it separate. And this right here is my wall of ores and ore products. So I've got the different types of ore for each metal kind of associated with them. So like all the ironish ores are around here where this iron is. There's a copper here. I think the copper's like right here and whatnot. There's not really anything special about that. I do have over here a little jukebox I found somewhere and a couple of CDs you can listen to. I tried to set up some of these kobolds and having them mining, but as you can see, they they basically just clear out an area and then they're just kind of hanging around doing nothing. So I don't know if I'll even bother with them again. They're kind of a pain. Over here is where I sleep. I somehow got a cow trophy. I'm not even sure how. But this is my box of coins and spawn things from the various rewards. And here's my storage for all of those. Let's see. Oh, here's I've got a couple of boxes full of construction materials. This one here is for attaching for these two crafting stations. So, one of them I'll build a lot of the small stuff like pipes and stuff. I'll usually build here. But then I've also got some of these forestry tables. So this right here is my MV forestry table with the aluminum items. I've also got this one over here that's just kind of just general BS crap that doesn't have enough room to do somewhere else, like sensors and some of the forestry parts for their various items. Let's see. This is another mine shaft. It goes out to the west. You can see here it goes out to the west, over here to the western exit. This right here just gives you kind of an idea of the places I've explored. Looking for things, all the nodes markings and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a warp effect. One of the effects of the level of warp I'm at is I get random creeper explosions, so that's a lot of fun to have to deal with. You get to where you kind of ignore any kind of explosion, and I did that, and I discovered that I had forgotten to cover up my bee area, and so one of my bee things had exploded, and that was why. One nice thing I have is up at the top, remember the water line here? It actually feeds a small solar boiler that I have just coming basically, let me get over there, coming straight down here. You can't see it. It's underneath this lamp here. There's a boiler. There's a pipe that comes into this steam turbine here, and it keeps the steam turbine, keeps these batteries here charged up that I use for these little machines I keep right in my area. So if I need a flat piece of rubber, I can just go over here to the extruder, and then there we go. Got another one right there. And that way, these are just all the low little LV ones. I got like a basic bending machine and a polarizer. These are here for making steel rods, that kind of thing. That way, it's really convenient for producing stuff here. I can take some of the aluminum out of here and just make a bunch of stuff for the steel and whatnot. Now, as you go out of my base here, on the left right now is my bee breeding and development area, I guess. So I've got these little beehives. Stupid bees, they keep making these attack flowers that give you wither. Anyways, so these bees, there's just a hopper underneath it and a chest up above and a simple item pipe. So you can start fairly early with these. Some of these are empty. Some of these have, one's empty too. This one right here has a queen in it, and every time when it dies, it falls to the bottom, and it comes back up, gets sucked back into here, and just keeps going through the production lines. You can see this one has been changed a few times, so it's got a lot of stuff going on. So these are kind of just at a production stage where they just make stuff. I'm not really paying much attention to them. But these ones over here, these single ones, are ones that I'm doing optimizations on for their characteristics. So let's see, like this one here, I believe is, yeah, it's a copper bead I'm trying to improve. So if we look at the characteristics here, you can see that it has cave dwelling, which is good. It actually was crossbred with an infernal, and the infernal is the one active right now. So I'm trying to get some of the infernal characteristics and the nocturnal cave dwelling and spread them around my other bees. So I'll put this back in here and we'll take a look at you later. So I've got a whole bunch of these that are currently in development. Like these ones right here are all my infernals. I'm trying to get better in one way or another. And then I've got a couple cultivateds up here. They're trying to get some of their stats at a better quality. Pocky Ninja showed me how to get, or the way to, the Pocky Ninja way, I guess, on how to get these optimized. These are just tropical queens that I have on production that are just basically making combs. So right here, as you can see, I've got a little glass area here. Before I was trying to use the basic scanner, and I had an opening for a solar panel I put on top of it, but the power output from the solar panel was just so low that it couldn't keep up. So I took the solar panel off, but I forgot to cover the hole. And so later on when it rained, I heard an explosion. I was like, oh, it's another creeper explosion. I come back and there's a big giant hole here. Luckily my bees survived, but I lost the scanner, which was kind of a bummer because you can use that for other stuff too. But you know, that's the way it goes in Gregtech. So these are some of my my bee storage. This is the wild bees I've caught. These are some of the mostly the ones I've analyzed that I've, you know, they're messed up in some way. I haven't gotten around to fixing them. Like this one right here is the temperature is wrong for it right now, so I haven't dealt with it. These are my pristines that I'm gonna start breeding into the other ones. And then over here is the most important tool, a climatizer, which you can put bees in here and you put materials underneath it. So let's see. Let's throw some sand on here. You can throw some sand in here and it'll try to fix the humidity. So the sand will make it able to survive in a drier area. So since it's already, the humidity is right now that the bee actually prefers is damp, but it actually goes both directions, up and down too. The sand will make it go down, up and down both three, and so on. You can add other, here, let's throw some snowballs on there too to help it go improve its temperature rating too. So we can put some of these over here and it'll just do the processing on its own. You know, that high-tech moron world processing of a of a hopper. It covers 99% of what you need, so it's good enough for me. One thing about this this device, you can, let's put you back through again, is that it takes up a lot of power. So I've got a battery buffer here as well as an advanced diesel generator, and this is actually running cetane, so you can tell it's sucking the power down pretty fast. I've also got a diamond tank here with lava in order to make lava cells that I can use to increase their temperature tolerance, like a wintry bee or that type of thing. I've got over here, I've got some other bees that I'm doing. It's kind of like spreading out all over the base. This right here is my bee storage, the rejects. What I do is as this reject case gets full, it moves to this one moves up, this one ends up coming over to here, and this one is a hopper to a trash can. So it eventually empties it, and this one gets swapped in over here as a new one. That way, if I do something wrong and I want to go back to a bee, let's say I have a bee back here or somewhere, I could grab it. Or if I end up getting the higher tier stuff where you can actually use these bees as genetic material. So once you get the higher tier stuff, you can actually extract the DNA from them and use it for getting the stats you want a lot faster than just by crossbreeding them. I'll have a whole bunch on stockpile that I can use, but I don't know if I'll even go that far. Up above here, we have a little patch of netherwort for spells and that type of thing. And then over here we have this is going to be my long-term production side. So I'm going to put eventually I'm going to fill this up with all the bees once they get really good characteristics and just leave them here for production. I had some bees here before, but I've taken them out since then. So right now I've got this this copper queen here. It's pretty decent. So you can see it has fast production, and then her climate and humidity tolerance, both directions, is both 5, so she can basically live anywhere in terms of temperature. And she now supports cave dwelling, which means I could technically cover her up, but since she's not nocturnal, it wouldn't help. So she's not perfect yet because she's still missing nocturnal and tolerant flyer, but I'm hoping to bring one of those characteristics. Now this one here doesn't have it yet. Hoping to bring those characteristics over at some point, and then we'll be able to run the bees all the time and not have to worry about going to sleep. So over here is one of my other food production facilities. I just put here a bunch of extra foods I don't really need as much of. I just throw them up here just to have a place for them. The pumpkins are handy because they can be used for Thaumcraft aspects. Most importantly, the wheat one. I don't know what it's called. But yeah, that one's really useful because of a lot of the alchemy products require it. This right here is my peanut farm. I was using this to get seed oil. What I'm probably going to do though is build another Steve cart and stick it on peanut oil duty and have it see if I can get it to automate that, or maybe I'd love to use golems, but golems are so heavily gated in this pack that you have to be really high tiered in order to get them, so I don't know if I'll be able to do that anytime soon. But Steve carts is pretty easy to do. It's not that big a deal. Over here I got some of my horses. This right here is the one I rode around for a while, but now that I have jetpacks, I don't really use it all that much anymore. This is the backup I got. And over here is a donkey that I found, and another horse to ride around on. This here's my main crops. So these are the ones I use more often. So these are like the core of most of my major foods. Like the zucchini is key for a lot of dishes. Of course, the wheat. Strawberry is good for the sandwiches and the pies and that kind of stuff. And potatoes is good for a lot of stuff as well. And then over here is where I used to keep my animals. Whenever I fly around, I usually kill the animals I find, so I get plenty of food from those instead of having to worry about breeding these and getting babies and all that stuff. Plus, they always manage to sneak out. They used to have like 30 or 40 of each, but they just continually sneak out of the pen, so it's kind of a pain in the butt to manage that. I saw a butterfly flying around over here. Let's go see if we can catch it. Maybe I waited too long. Yeah, I guess I did. We'll keep an eye out for it. If we see it, we'll try and catch it. Yeah, that's one thing I forgot to point out. So one thing I did is I added a collection of butterflies to the front of the deal. This is not all of them. I need to build more drying racks for storage. This is a bunch of the butterflies I've caught. So here are some of the trees. These are just, I probably just need to get rid of these. These were coconuts I thought would be more useful, but it turns out they're not the right kind of coconuts. These ones don't give you seed oil. They just give you fruit juice. The seed oil ones you have to actually breed from the trees, so someday I might mess with that. You can see how these have a genome with them because they've been crossbred with the bees will crossbreed with them. Let me go ahead and refresh the. So I haven't really done any tree breeding. This one right here is a Pam's tree that has the maple syrup on it for some of the breakfast sandwich the breakfast meal, and I think sausage in a bun uses it, so I've got a bunch of that. These here are the primal shrooms that you get from the magic mushrooms in the magic forest. You can turn them into those. So if we watch this, you can see in the top left my aspects there. So if we can knock them down, you'll see it growing up there. The little green arrows is collecting it. It's just an alternate way instead of having to go and fly between the different aura nodes and having to deal with that. Even with this many, even with all these, you can see it's just barely filling it up. So it's not necessarily replacing the aura nodes completely. Why do I have 55? I missed one. There we go. I should have 56. That's a bummer. I guess I'll have to make more. Anyway, you can just just plant them back, and they'll just grow. In a few minutes, they'll be full sizing, and you can knock them down again to recharge. Let me just go ahead and just plant these. One funny thing I figured out is that if you really want to, you can just plant them on top of each other. There's nothing preventing you from that, which is kind of silly, but anyway. So, in case you haven't noticed, I actually walk really fast, and that's because, one, this is concrete, so the concrete helps you run. This is the Gregtech concrete, which, in my opinion, is not as good as the other kind of concrete. I'll show you in a second. But I'm also wearing these blood-stained boots, as they come in with a built-in speed, and they also have a haste 2 applied to them, so that's why. If you notice, I'm moving pretty fast, that's why. So even off of that, I'm still pretty good. So this here is the chisel concrete that you can transfer to it, and it's a lot more consistent on the high speed. So you can see here how much faster it is. So this here is my glowflower crop that I used to turn into glowstone dust. If you take this and you put it into a extractor, where'd it go? There it is. Then it'll turn it into glowstone dust. So I have a whole bunch of glowstone dust that I've been stockpiling as I need. So I can use that for other things. This here is my Thaumcraft tower. I had so much marble and other colors, I decided to make this kind of candy cane looking tower for my my magic stuff. This here is where I keep my good armor when I you want to switch back into. Although lately I've just been walking around in the Thaumcraft gear because it's actually not too bad now. They're better than the normal robes, so they have a decent amount of protection in them instead of the pathetic leather level of the normal robes. This here's my portal to the Twilight Forest, and I've got over here, this is where I do my Thaumcraft research. So I got research going on here, and then my primary tables for building things and storage of crystals and shards and research I looked at, and I'm like, I'm going to do that never, and then this is research I'm going to do at some point I need to get around to. And then here's the stuff for alchemy, my alchemy setup, my little brewing stand, which is a pain in the butt to get because you need blaze rods for some of my potions. I need to do a restock. After killing the Lich King, most of my potions are pretty much gone, so I need to do a major restock of that. Yeah, here you can see my original robes. Not quite as good as on the protection. This is a box full of loot that I've grabbed. That's just, instead of sorting it, I just threw it all in here to deal with later. Got some of the miniature hearts and whatnot that I'll be using once I can use those. Here is, I used to have one of the crucibles in here, but I moved it outside, and then eventually I got rid of it and replaced it with the alchemical construct, so I don't need to worry about the crucible at all. But I keep it here so I can fill up water bottles for the potion. Over here I've got some of my enchantment books and just all the weird crap from all the other magic stuff. I don't even know how to use this stuff yet, as well as some of the witchery stuff, which I haven't even started either. Got me an enchantment table and books. I need to place that, but I haven't gotten around to it. Here's my repair stand. The next level up is where the alchemy construct is, so I can do my alchemy in here. Like I was making avarice pearls for thirsty tanks, so that's what that was there for. I got some of my aspects coming into there. I could never understand how this works. I need to read up on that a little bit better, so I can actually connect them all together without them working incorrectly. This is where I get all of my liquid aspects, the various furnaces and whatnot, and the storage areas for them. As you can see, I need void canisters because I keep filling up with stupid stuff like Kara, which you don't ever need this much. Anyways, that's where this is done, and then the next level up, this is my my chamber for the infusion stabilization devices. So right up above you can see the infusion altar. We'll see that next. I've got a few extra heads to place I haven't gotten around to. Yeah, and some of those are mine. Those are all mine. Up here, this area, because it wasn't quite an integer size, so I just made a little This is actually for my helicopter, so I can, just shut it off and just fall into the cloud without having to waste time coming down. This here is the infusion altar that I have set up. Someone online pointed out that you could just have it set up like this, and that way you can actually, you could see both sides of your altar, and if something gets knocked off, you can run over and grab it and fix it really fast, instead of having the normal circular altar, which, looks nicer, but it's harder to manage because you got stuff that you have to go, you won't be able to see all the sides of the altar. So that's the Thaumcraft tower. Got a little little fast way down. Over here I have some trees. These are not really my tree farm per se, but like trees for chestnuts are over here. These are my rubber trees, which, whenever I need some rubber, I'll just chop them all down. I don't bother with collecting this crap. It's just not that effective. It's faster just to chop it all down and let it all grow back. Over here, I used to have my silverwood trees, but I chopped them all down. I just left the nodes. None of them are really any good, the silverwood nodes, which is kind of a real disappointment, so I don't know if I'll really bother with doing that again. These are my rainbow cactus that I made with Thaumcraft. When you knock them down, you get a whole bunch of different dyes, which is handy for... God damn, these stupid flowers. I'm going to take a bunch of those flowers into the nether and use those to kill zombie pigmen, I think. I used to have originally the normal cactus here as kind of a wall to prevent mobs from getting through. But then I replaced a bunch of them with the rainbow cactus. So place this one down and break it too if I can. I think it has the same restrictions. Yeah. So just do. Why did I not break? It should have broken to. Huh. That's weird. I don't know why I didn't break into dyes. Huh. Anyway, over here is my my mob killing room for dropping spawn eggs. Like if I need to kill a blaze or something, I can put it in here. It's got the hard walls that are harder than normal, so they don't get blown up. Oh, the lights that I'm using, these are, I don't know if I put any in here, but these white lights on the ground are Z-tone lamps, and they're actually fairly cheap to make. You get 4 of them for one of these inverted white lamps, and these just take a little bit of redstone and a torch, and this white Illimar you make with a mixer and with bone meal. So you can bone meal and the glowstone. That's why I made the glowstone. So I can make a whole bunch of that, with any kind of white actually. I just use the bone meal because it's the easiest. So I'm carrying that around. I like the look of these better than seeing all these goofy ass torches everywhere. It just looks kind of stupid. This looks a little more high tech to me. This here's my smeltery / killing killing room for making ender pearls. So if you push the button, it shoots out an ender pearl out of there into the smeltery, and then the enderman dies, and then you get a little bit of liquid ender here, and then you can pour it out over here with the gemstone cast to make ender pearls. Let me just do one real quick. I got all these stupid flowers everywhere. Alright. So one of the times the enderman was actually an infernal that healed himself, and so I got like 300 ender pearls from that one enderman, which is pretty darn funny. Considering all the grief that they give you in this game, it was pretty nice to be able to return the favor a little bit. I put my, these are my barbecue gloves for carrying around the lava tanks. I put them over here so I know where they are. They're right next to where I usually keep them. So this is the concrete I was talking about. I put these Thaumcraft paving stones to travel so I can actually go really fast across the base now. As you can see, it's pretty quick. And it's really helpful for, getting around quickly. Let's see, what else? We talked about the rubber wood. Oh, so these are the red lawn plants from Thaumcraft. I've got a Steve cart set up. It's out of gas. Let me get a couple of let's see what I can throw away. Uh-oh, that's not a good sound. That's the sound of a sick machine. So here, I can go around, he toodles around, and then he cuts this down because it's a block, and so this is actually a drill on the front, not a harvester. And so let's wait for him to come back around. He'll come back around, and this Steve Cart's cargo manager here will transfer it out, and then it gets transferred with this item translocator into this little chest here. So what I want to do, here he comes, you should see him zip through. Oh, damn it. You know, I thought I fixed that. There's a problem since it's actually a drill, is that it drills the stupid translocator too. So I'm gonna have to move give me a second here, let me move this. Always debugging, that's the state of a Gregtech facility. There's always something that needs optimization or fixing. So one there and one there. Use this to set the filter. So now if we go boop, there it goes. So it sucks it in. And that's this little one here. I don't have any coal in there because I just haven't gotten around to it, but you can put coal up in the top here and it'll reload it as well. As you can see, this is a pretty small setup because you get a crap ton of redstone even with this. As you can see, I've already got these are all blocks of redstone. This here is my EBF, my electric blast furnace. This is my collector's item, first block of aluminum that I made with it. I put a little drying rack here with a soft hammer to whack it on and off if needed. Right now it's not really doing anything, but this is the fluid tank that supplies the fluid or the cetane diesel to the diesel generators. There's 2 diesel generators here and 2 diesel generators here, so it's got 4 diesel generators running it. These are on these actually provide into a battery buffer, which then goes into an MV hatch, so it's actually runs overclocked when it does steel. This is a little scaffold that allows me to climb up and down and check out, make sure everything's okay. I can check the output hatch as it looks like there's CO2 gas in there. So right now we need to get this one out of the way. This is sulfur gas collection. Actually do that. And then there's the CO2, so I'll just move this back up there and let it collect the CO2. And I can just put it on top here. Boop. And then it looks like there's actually too much CO2. Let's swap those around. Now I have it's a smaller tank, the 48 bucket one, but at least it can pick whatever comes out of the next time I run it. So here I keep some of the more complicated items and the repair parts. This is a spare casing from when I added the extra hatch to it, an extra circuit so I can just swap it in and out between the different types. And in case any repairs need to be done, which they haven't been, so I've been okay on that. This is the main storage for my cetane, so I've got around 680 buckets of that. And this is my main processing for bringing out aluminum or steel or limonite or any other weird stuff if I need to throw it into the EBF. Although lately I haven't been using the EBF to make iron from stuff because I just end up throwing the pyrite I get from the redstone processing. So anyways, that's pretty much that. Here's the input bus for the fluids for the gases, and there's the storage for the gases. There's the oxygen here. That's for steel and that type of stuff. And here's the storage for the nitrogen, which is used for aluminum processing. Let me go ahead and empty bucket. And then back over here is where I used to have my bricked blast furnaces from Steam Age, but now it's where I have my implosion compressor. So this is where I, if you need to make some industrial diamonds or that type of thing. Right now I just have it powered with a small diesel with some fish oil based biodiesel. This is actually biodiesel from fish oil. And whenever I need to, I can throw something on there. I keep it a little bit away, if you can see here. So this is 1 block, or chunk, 2 blocks, 3 chunks, So it's 3 chunks away from the EBF, and they're both pretty high pollution items. The EBF, if I let it run continuously with like 128 aluminum, it'll actually produce enough pollution I start getting sick. So I have to. That's why it's not like right next to my house over there. I kept it over here. Same thing for the implosion compressor over there. So let's shut those off. So this here's my main production area. I have a bunch of water. You know what? That's where my water cells went. I wonder where those went. These right here is what I was using originally, but I'm using those right now just for my ore washing. I have a thirsty tank up top. I'll show you in a second. This is my main LV machine line. So I've got all the different basic LV machines, all doing their different jobs and whatnot. Here's that centrifuge that I have running redstone, and the redstone makes the ruby, which I can make into chrome, which is really critical. It makes mercury, which I use to get additional gold and silver. It makes pyrite, which I can use to get sulfur or iron, and it makes silicon, which I just got so much of it really doesn't even matter at this point. This is one. Okay, so this power here is kind of complicated because of how it evolved over time. So there's a steam pipe's coming up from the bottom, and it comes up over here to these 2 turbines. These are 2 turbines. And then these 2 turbines feed into a battery bank here. And that's for this electrolyzer here, which we can start on that. And then they come out this other side here as well to feed these machines. And then, so that's this top right area up here is one kind of power grid. Then this bottom left area here is another power grid. There's another tank that feeds a biodiesel generator that has a battery bank. It's actually missing a battery. You need to fill it up. And that's where my autoclave, circuit assembler, and my basic distillery. This is where I made all of my oil originally, but I haven't used natural oil in quite some time. Let me go to sleep again. We can see it in the daytime. I use mostly biodiesel to cetane for the diesel engine production right now. So then back behind here is some of the storage. Here you can see some of the ammonia I have stockpiled, hydrogen sulfide, sulfuric acid, and that kind of stuff. This is all these tanks were for glycerol. One of the byproducts of biodiesel production is glycerol, so I just had tons and tons of it. I moved that over to a different area. I'll show you in a second before I go up the tower. And here is the other side. This is also another steam turbine. And this is where the ore washing plant is. You can see it's washing some ores right now. Another centrifuge. This one I use more for getting refined glue out of the rubber trees, but it also does other stuff as well. And here's where my basic assembler is located. The wire mill, forge hammer, alloy smelter are here. There used to be, the reason there's this like opening area here is there used to be a basic mixer here, but it's been moved over to do 100% biodiesel, so that's why it's an empty spot right now. Let's get some room here. So that's what that's about. Let's see if there's anything special. This is the output side, so you can see some of the stuff that comes out of the smeltery. This is all, this ore washer's been going for a while with cassiterite sand and stone dust and all the tin byproducts. This is the normal byproducts of that centrifuge. I normally swap them back and forth as I change products. Here's assembler output, so different things that I had to make over time, I have some extra of. Here's where I have the extra mercury, so I've got tons of mercury. There's tons upstairs too. This is where I store my clay, where I macerate and then electrolyze to get aluminum. Here's my liquid fueled firebox that I used way back, steam age. It used to be a 2x2, and it's just slowly grown over time. This is now a 3x3 that's 3 tall. As you can see, I've had to expand my number of coke ovens in order to keep it fed. I like using the coke ovens because I get both the creosote as well as the charcoal. So the charcoal used to just get stored here, but now it's actually routed over to this little area of compressors. So these compressors here, this compresses the charcoal, then it goes over, outputs to here. This compresses it again, so it takes it from here to here. And then this last step I do manually, so that way if I need to, if I want to throw some of this inside of a Steve card, I can. But if I get a large amount, I just throw it in this last compressor that pops out over here. So I've already got two quadruple compressed blocks of charcoal. Then over here is where I do my thermal centrifuge. It needs 2 amps, so it's got this steam turbine, and this steam turbine both provide it with power, and it also shares its power with the arc furnace if the arc furnace is running. It's not really enough. I probably should put a third steam turbine on there, but I could probably do that. I guess I could put one right there and face it into this low voltage battery buffer. It's stupid looking. I've got two battery buffers facing into the center one, so it's kind of ridiculous. But so this right here is my main steam tank that I've had quite a while. Ever since LV, it started out a lot smaller and has been growing over time. Let me see, is there anything else here? Oh, yeah, the other thing down here on the ground is the Steve cart for wood production. So this right here, I call my little buddy. He goes around. He's been recently, the cargo manager here, I used to have to manually unload it and stick it inside these barrels, but I added item translocators now to where it'll probably be a while before it comes back anyways, but actually here I've got some saplings. I can throw the saplings in here. It just went by so fast you can't even see it. It shoots them out into here. Once this gets full, what I'll do is I'll swap it with this one, and then I'll take this one up and turn it into biochaff for fermented biomass later on, but I haven't really set that up yet. I've got enough power sources right now. I don't really need to worry about it. You know what? I think his yeah. The woodcutter is fine. Why is he not cutting stuff down? Oh, there he goes. Okay. I was wondering why he kept leaving all these tall, skinny trees around. That's one thing I don't like about it, is if it leaves a tree, it'll stuff can spawn on the top of it. It hasn't been an issue yet, but I'm sure it will be. We should see it shooting the. Yeah, there he goes. Shooting all the blocks out. There. Only had a couple of spruce saplings there, and it goes on its way. It's got some of the blocks of wood inside of it, so it's going to be lasted quite a while. You know what? I just realized something. If I pull out all the saplings, it is not going to ever plant saplings here. Just over time, it's going to slowly run out of saplings. Interesting. I never realized that. Anyway, that's something to keep an eye on, I guess. Let's see, let's go ahead and throw some more in there. It's always needing tuning your base. So what I just noticed is that when I come around here, I empty all the saplings out because I want to make them for biomass. But if I leave no saplings, when it gets around here and it chops down a tree, it can't plant a new one. So that's why it's like slowly progressing down the line with making it empty. But you know what? I know a way to fix that. I can tell it to toggle the direction. So we'll make it turn back after transfer. So when it comes down here and it stops here, it'll go back the way it came, and so that way it'll always have saplings when it comes back. So yeah, we just debugged and fixed the problem. All right, let's see if there's anything else to show. So this area here with the bricks, I used to have a charcoal igniter here to make charcoal, but it turns out it's not really that effective. It's just better just to make more coke ovens. Up above here is where I had a stupid redwood. That was really dumb of me to plant it. I've hollowed it out, so it's all been harvested except for the branches that are in. They're stuck inside, and so the damn thing won't decay and it doesn't burn. So there's no real easy way to get rid of it. This is my eastern part of my mining facility. You can see how it keeps going east here to where it hits the river. There's a couple different ores that I found in there. Let's see what else. So we can go up the levels. I was gonna do something really fancy, like this grid, but it turns out to be a real annoying pain in the ass to make. Also, the The glass you slide on, and you can't put torches on it, so it just became irritating, so I didn't do it. As you can see, I'm not very OCD, otherwise I would have cleaned it up and made it all look the same, but I haven't gotten around to that. So this is my MV area, where I've got my MV machines, like electrolyzers, the advanced extruder, where you can actually start extruding real things, chemical reactors, fluid extractors, that kind of stuff. And over here I've got some of the other advanced machines, an advanced mixer. This is where I make my my stainless steel and that kind of stuff. And then over here on the left is where this is where my large bronze boiler is. As you can see, again, it's also, you know, at least a chunk away from the rest of my stuff. So that way the pollution effects won't affect me as much. I keep, you know, when I need a little bit of extra steam, I just take a couple of compressed and throw it in there, and then if you wait a few seconds, it'll turn on. See, there it goes, it's turned on. Now for water, I was originally using these, but it just wasn't cutting it. So I ended up getting what's called a thirsty tank. So if you come up here, this thirsty tank, every second it'll pull water from a water source without destroying it. So it's basically one of the first infinite water sources. It's not as good as the Everfull urn, because the Everfull urn you can pull, you know, 10,000 buckets of water a second, or 10 buckets of water per second. This one you can only pull one. If you pull more than one, you can end up destroying the water source. So I have it set to only pull using an LV pump, and that way it keeps it from draining it. It goes in here. They all come into here to this super tank. So I keep 4 million or 4,000 buckets of water there, and this goes down to that railcraft boiler underneath, and then over there to the Gregtech boiler. This right here is my huge steel pipe carrying steam that gets dumped into the big tank up here. This is the big steam tank. If I were to do it over again, I wouldn't have this, because I made two separate tanks and they're joined in the middle. As you can see right now, there's steam dumping out, but it's actually filling up the bottom tank right now. So while it's nice that, and you can see it's just starting to fill up, get to the top tank. But as you can see, they're not one connected tank. They're just two tanks that share a connection. And so if there's not enough steam, none of the machines up top will run, and they'll just, you know, give you the error message or the error sound. I'm not really running anything up here right now. I've been looking at doing a lot of bee stuff, so they're not too busy. Over here is where I did my train. There's a separate video that talks about the train. It's basically drained all the oil from the oil spout that was over there, and put it into here. I got 4 million buckets of oil, or 4,000 buckets of oil plus a little bit extra whenever I need it. What I'm eventually going to do is I'm going to turn this into my oil processing facility. I don't need the oil for energy, but I do want the oil for products, for plastics, for like polyethylene or PTFE, or, you know, any of those epoxy, any of those kinds of things. That's going to be this production area up here. The next level up is my new HV production area. It's high enough up that I was worried about falling off, so I put these fences here, but I didn't realize that these fences actually hurt you if you get close to them. So it definitely encourages you not to go over the edge. So I didn't figure that out until I accidentally ran into one. So this right here is my very fancy new universal macerator. As you can see, it has two products. It's been pretty busy taking stuff, and right now I don't have it optimized, so I have to, you know, macerate it, take it down to the thermal centrifuge, or to the ore washer, or to the thermal centrifuge, and bring it back up again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make a full ore production line here at HV, I think, with an HV thermal centrifuge and ore washer and all that stuff. I'll probably make another thirsty tank. I don't know if one's going to be enough to handle doing that with the level of industrialization I want. And then of course the next level up here is just a empty area. I realized after I built it that the pillar's right in the way. I didn't design this stairwell right. I'm gonna have to push it out a couple blocks so you can actually get off it. This is just a chiseled marble, But the nice thing, you can see it has super high blast resistance, and plus I like the little green effect. It makes it look like a industrial wasteland, I think. So I thought that was pretty good. Let me see. Is there anything else? I don't really have any other interesting areas to show. There's nothing really in the Nether except the gate and some mining areas. The same thing in Twilight Forest. I don't know if there's anything really worth looking at. So let's see. So this here is actually my second oil spout. My first one was this one here. I've got another oil right here, but I haven't hooked it up yet because I got 4,000 buckets. What do I need more oil for? And then over here, this here is a roguelike dungeon that I've explored. It's got 3 or 4 oil spouts. If I was to do it over this exact seed over again, I probably would have chosen this as my base because it's got the 3 oil spouts right next to it. But you know, that's the way it is. I don't think there's really anything else interesting. I mean, I've got a couple of villages and whatnot. One really neat area is this area down here. My mesas that I use for collecting clay comes from down here. We can maybe do a quick flight down there. That's kind of a neat little area to look at. As you can see, there's meteors all over the place. I don't think there's anything else really nifty. I can show you way the hell over here somewhere. Yeah, that's where Magical Forest is. That's where I had to go to get those, to get the mushrooms that I turned into those magic mushrooms. And I didn't find this until I used my Nature's Compass, which is a really nice addition. I really like that they added that. Before I had to just find cherry blossom forests to look for silverwood, because you can find them occasionally inside a cherry blossom forest, so I had to just search inside of here. There was also a, I don't remember what direction it was. This was a sacred spring, I believe. Oh, here it is. This was a sacred spring. And then there was also a, where was it? A lavender fields or a garden or something. Here's a bamboo forest that I went to just to explore because it was needed for part of a quest, I think. Anyways, nothing really super interesting. Let's I'll take you down to that over to that mesa area so you can see where I gathered the clay and stuff like that. It's kind of a neat little area. This is why I love the helicopter pack. Look how fast you're moving at this. This is nice. Also, the fuel on it is pretty fuel efficient. Although, because I'm busy talking to you, I'm going to go ahead and fill it up before I forget. I've got too many backpacks. So I've got the 3 backpacks in my inventory, then I have the backpack that I'm wearing on my back. So got way too many backpacks. You can see some of the ores. When I came down here last time, I just went ahead and did mining. So you can see here the shafts I dug looking for ores. And here's where the mesas are. Oh, beehive. I should take that. More beehives. Do that later. Here's where I did a lot of mining. I just did like a strip just to take a whole bunch of clay back. And other than that, there's another roguelike dungeon. I've only explored the one because I'm just a giant chicken. But there's plenty of other ones around that I haven't gotten around to. I think that's pretty much it for the base tour. If you have any questions, just let me know in channel on Discord. You know, say, hey moron, what are you doing? Why'd you do it that way? And I'll try and give you some sort of explanation. I don't necessarily claim to do it the best way. There's lots of more efficient ways to do things, but I like having it semi-automatic where I can start stuff and it goes, but I like being able to interact with it as well instead of just having something that just does everything for you. Oh, there was one thing I didn't show you, the fish farm. Swing by that real quick. Here you can see where the end of the line was for the train. It's still sitting here. There's actually a little bit of oil there. I wonder if look at that. Maybe there's still some oil that it didn't pick up. Let's go take a look. It's only a basic pump, so it's not going to pick up all the oil in a large clump. Oh, come on, lag. Alright, there we go. Actually, let's just make sure we have the appropriate tools. As you can see, I've been down here once before. You gotta be super careful, because if you touch that oil, you can't come back. See, I can't even tell, is that oil or is that all granite? Holy crap, okay, there's the oil. I can see there's oil there. Yeah, you can see it moving there. Yeah, you gotta be really careful, because if you touch that oil with your jetpack, you're just hosed. You're just gonna have to die. And since you're in the oil, you can't, it's really hard to get your stuff recovered out of it, so I'll just get out of here. Alright, yeah, so we're gonna go take a look at the biodiesel generation. So there's two different ways to get biodiesel. You can use seed oil, which is easy to collect with a Steve cart, or with from either seeds like wheat or peanuts. Actually makes a pretty good seed oil. You can get canola or rapeseed oil if you do the crop breeding to get to it, and that's a good alternative. The other option is to do fish, and so that's what I did. So you can see here are the basic fish catchers. They've got underneath them a hopper, and the hoppers all point into one of these item conduits. So the item conduit is what carries the fish and the other products over to here. Now the way the item conduits work, whatever the first valid item that it can go into, it goes into that. So as you can see here, I've got jellyfish, seaweed. These are actually starting to get kind of full. I'm going to have to empty them. You can even get diamonds and rubies occasionally. Lots and lots of slime balls apparently. Oh, look at that, starting to back up. So then it comes into here, and then it comes into here. Oh, that's why the slime balls are backing it up. Let's try to extract this sand. Yeah, so I'm going to have to empty this out. Anyways, this is basic food extractor, then takes the fish, extracts the oil, which comes into here. Once 1,000 comes up, it takes a can and sends it over this direction to the chemical reactor. As you can see, it's building up. Once it gets to 6, it uses up a tiny bit of the sodium hydroxide and the methanol here from the methanol tank to make biodiesel. Now here, this one right here is where I store the biodiesel as biodiesel for some of the low voltage diesel generators can only take biodiesel. They can't take the cetane boosted. So like this one right here has that biodiesel. So once this gets to 60, once this is full and there's 64 stacked up, any additional ones get pushed over to here. And then here, it mixes with tetranitromethane to make what's called cetane boosted biodiesel. And this has a lot higher output by like a factor of 3 or so. And then this is where the tetranitromethane is normally stored. Once it's done, it, as you can see, it actually starting to transfer the biodiesel and make it into the and sending it back over here to pick up more. And then some of it's stored here, and then normally once it gets pretty full, I'll move it over into the main storage facility right here. That's how I got my 600 or so buckets, and I got another 1,000 or 100 so here. I think that pretty much covers everything. You know, there's not a whole lot, and it's kind of a haphazard mess. You know, as most of these things, you little bastards, most of these things tend to be. They evolve over time, and you think, oh, I'm going to need a whole lot of area for one thing, and it ends up being another. The next thing I'm probably going to do, I haven't decided if I'm going to do a seed oil farm. I probably won't, because I get enough biodiesel from the fish, but fish production is not really super high, and it's more of a pain to increase. So I might make another Steve cart farm somewhere out there, just for seeds, and use that. The problem is that Steve carts, They don't work with the alternate crops like Pam's crops and whatnot, so I'll have to decide if I want to do wheat, which is really low output. It's only like 10 millibuckets per wheat seed, or figure out a way to do the peanuts, which are like 36, so they're a lot more efficient. Or of course, I could always breed bees. You know, that's always an option. I can breed an oil bee and use the oil bee to make make oil. Let's see, anything else? Oh, one thing I did is I went and found a beekeeper villager, and I brought him back in a golden lasso, and now he is my resident beekeeper. So I can, I can buy my apiaries for just oak wood, which is nice, and I can also buy proven frames from him, which is nice to increase production. And my bees live longer. Here you can see that little solar boiler. This is just one I basically just built for the quest, but it just sits here, takes a little bit of water, puts out a little bit of steam to power that steam turbine down below. And that's pretty much it. You can see here the heads from defeating the Naga and the Lich King. Let me see. Oh, these are alternate flat lamps that use a light gray dye instead of white dye. I didn't know if I was going to use these or the white ones. It's just so much easier to get bone meal than it is to get gray, so I just went with the white ones. I think that about covers it. All right. Thanks a lot for watching. If you have any questions, let me know. Take care.